New evidence. 15 cricket matches fixed at the highest levels of the international game.
इंग्लैंड की बैटिंग में रन आएगा 46, 48 खुलेगा 8 ऑस्ट्रेलिया का टेस्ट बना है और पावर प्ले के ओवर का 4 खुलेगा.
Al Jazeera's investigative unit has obtained recordings of a match fixer speaking to a notorious Indian bookmaker.
हेलो. ओके. टॉस के बाद ऑन करता हूँ. ठीक है.
The new evidence of corruption follows the documentary Cricket's Match Fixers, which rocked the sport in May 2018.
We are investigating match fixing on an international scale. You're actually corrupting the game, You're corrupting it.
Allegations of match fixing during a test.
The National Cricket Council is conducting an investigation.
Details on fraud and malpractices surrounding cricket have come to
Jazeera's
light.
investigation spotlights a sickening reality.
We discover that the match fixer involved in recent England and Australia tests has been corrupting international cricket since 2010.
How many years have you been doing this, fixing matches?
6 to 7 years.
His name, Aneel Munawar, an operative for a powerful South Asian mafia.
He looks after the betting syndicate of the company.
Good to see you. Come on in, come on in.
Munawar is a very high-profile figure in match fixing in international cricket. This is irrefutable.
Munawar is seen near cricket stars, though there's no suggestion that these players are involved in match fixing.
It is disturbing that the most famous player in cricket today should have been so easily accessed by Aneel Munawar.
The recordings include a call made by Munawar to an unnamed English cricketer.
Last payment is ready for going the account. It will be credited in a week.
And evidence that the game's governing body, the International Cricket Council, knew about Munawar as long ago as 2010.
There was no doubt whatsoever in the mind of the ICC that Munawar was a match fixer.
So how was Munawar able to continue fixing matches for a further 7 years?
I'm telling you, each script I give you, it will happen and happen.
You've got a large chunk of the history of the game, which is to be questioned.
Come in. Hello.
I met Munawar on 5 occasions in 2016 and 2017.
Good to see you. Very well, thank you.
How are you? Fine. Come on.
I was introduced to Munawar by a middleman who'd worked for underworld bosses. We filmed using concealed cameras.
60 to 70% matches we can set.
You say fix, yeah?
Fix.
I was posing as a British businessman, looking to buy information about fixes for crooked investors. Munawar described what he could offer.
We are dealing in 25 to 30 customers only. They are very big. They are earning per match, per team 4 to 10 crores.
That's winnings of up to $1.5 million per fix.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Munawar was central to our 18-month investigation that triggered headlines around the world.
Big fixing scandal hits international cricket.
Our aim here is to reveal that these fixes are happening at the very highest level of the international game.
The allegations aired in an Al Jazeera documentary relate to the third test between Australia and India in Ranchi last year.
One of the more high-profile allegations involved 2 Australian players whose names we've withheld. Munawar said they were paid to underperform at a match in India in March 2017.
It worked exactly. We were watching, and the run rate just slowed. Who was batting? And who was the other? Yes.
Australian players dismissed Al Jazeera's evidence and denied that a fix had taken place.
The claims are unsubstantiated, and as far as I'm concerned, our players have got nothing to worry about.
In another much-publicised claim, Munawar provided advance details of a fix during England's tour of India in 2016.
Which team have you got? Is it England or India?
England.
England.
The England and Wales Cricket Board, the ECB, denied that any of its players had carried out spot fixes. Staff and players rejected Al Jazeera's evidence.
I think it's outrageous, to be honest. We'll just leave that up to the ECB to deal with.
Outrageous that England players have been accused of this.
If there's something there that needs to be investigated, I can assure you we won't be sweeping it under the carpet.
Now, Al Jazeera's investigative unit has obtained further evidence of Munawar's role as a prominent match fixer. Files establish Munawar's connections with the betting underworld. The dossier includes evidence of 24 fixes in 15 international matches played in 2011 and 12.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया का पहला सेशन बनेगा कि 5-7 खुलेगा। श्रीलंका में 2 सेशन मिलेगा और आज दोनों सेशन आएगा। इंग्लैंड की बैटिंग में सेशन आएगा।
The files suggest that the fixes are carried out by batsmen who agree to underperform. Some of the world's most celebrated players were batting when the fixes allegedly occurred.
These players, you cannot call them in any way other than high-profile, elite international players.
इंग्लैंड की बैटिंग से पहले फोन करता हूँ, ठीक है? सबकी बात करता हूँ।
The recordings appear to indicate that 2 or 3 players were involved in each fix. And it was not always the same players from each team delivering the fix.
आज पाकिस्तान में पहला सेशन बनेगा।
The evidence points to a small group of England players carrying out spot fixes in 7 matches. Australia players in 5 matches and Pakistan players in 3. Players from other teams carried out spot fixes in 1 match. In some cases, both teams delivered a fix.
Historically, England and Australia are not supposed to be fixing matches. And that will stun the cricketing world.
आज इंग्लैंड का पहला एक सेशन बनेगा, 58 नाइट खुलेगा, वो मंदा जाएगा।
There's another game here where Munawar appears to have both teams fixing for him.
आज दोनों में आएगा, 64 का वो मंदा जाएगा।
It's just mind-blowing that it's been exposed in such detail and that the game's so rotten.
Munawar's story starts in Ahmedabad, the largest city in the Indian state of Gujarat. We've obtained audio recordings from a source who worked for a notorious bookmaker. Munawar is unaware that the recordings were leaked.
हेलो, हेलो मुनावर। हेलो, हाँ मुनावर, कौन बंदा आ रहा है तुम्हारा? हाँ, थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम था।
Munawar supplies information on match fixing to the bookmaker, who then places bets and makes money on pre-arranged outcomes.
मनी जाएगी, ठीक है? ठीक।
The bookmaker was Dinesh Kalgi, a well-known local gangster who'd operated for more than 2 decades from Gujarat. Mahesh Dave used to work for him.
Master of mind, पूरा गुजरात का वो सारे जो छोटे-छोटे बुक है वो सब उसको बुकिंग देते थे, सबका बुकिंग ये लेता था। ये बहुत बड़ा क्रिकेट सट्टा का बॉस था।
The once luxurious Sudama resort, where Kalgi ran a lucrative gambling and match-fixing operation, is now locked and deserted. But for many years, it was the hub of a major criminal operation. The city's police chief was aware of Kalgi's activities.
He managed a gang of criminals, and they were mortally afraid of him. He had that much of clout.
The betting business was run from a series of rooms hidden from the public.
और जो फंटर हार जावे पैसा उसके पास से कलेक्ट करने का और लाके दिनेश कल्गी को देने का।
Kalgi was arrested many times, but always bounced back.
He would bribe the cops. He would give money to the politicians. That is how they run their business. They are ready to give, and cops are ready to accept.
He be Ahmedabad? I think 2 or 3 times. I think in Ahmedabad.
you know this man?
इसका नाम है मुनावर और ये गुजरात का नहीं है, लेकिन सुदामा रिसोर्ट में मैंने 2 बार इसको देखा है और दिनेश कलगी के साथ बातचीत करते हुए भी देखा है और अलग से रूम में दोनों अकेले बातचीत करते थे.
Kalgi installed software to record calls from gamblers placing bets. This prevented arguments over who owed him money. He also recorded Munawar calling in details of the fixed matches. A cache of these recordings has been obtained by Al Jazeera.
हेलो. हाँ ठीक है. हाँ जनाब.
और मुनावर जो है वो पाकिस्तानी है क्योंकि वो जनाब शब्द का यूज़ करता है. तो वो सामने से मैच फिक्स था, पूरे मैच का जवाब देते हैं.
48 तक खुलेगा वो भी मंदा जाएगा. लास्ट ओवर में माल उठ लेना वो भी मंदा जाएगा. ठीक है. हाँ ठीक है.
उसमें जो रिसीव करता है वो डीके है, लेकिन डीके यानी दिनेश कलगी नहीं. ये दिनेश कलगी की आवाज़ नहीं है. ये है दिनेश कलगी का खास आदमी दिनेश खंपात, उसकी वॉइस है. और वो दिनेश कलगी का राइट हैंड था. सब दिनेश कलगी का सब बिजनेस क्रिकेट का वो संभालता.
Today, Dinesh Kambat, or DK, is wanted by Indian police and is believed to be still involved in match fixing.
DK हर एक मैच में मुनावर को पूछना पड़े कि भाई इस मैच में सेटिंग हुआ है नहीं हुआ है. मुनावर है वो जो भी मैच फिक्सिंग किया हो उसका पूरा अहवाल सुनाता है.
Munawar was mainly involved in what is known as spot fixing, manipulating a small part of a match. He favoured session fixes, a type of spot fix in which players underperform during a specific period of overs. This session of overs can be at any point during a team's innings and does not determine the overall result.
Session is better because you have more and more chances to bet.
1 over is 6 balls delivered by a bowler. A spot fixing session is usually 6, 8 or 10 overs. A manda means either a low score in the session or a maximum of 2 runs in the last over of the fixed session.
आज मार खा लेना. लास्ट 2 ओवर मिलेगी. लास्ट 2 ओवर मंदा जाएगा. ठीक है.
Bookmakers give odds on how many runs will be scored by the end of a session. For example, bookies say 48 to 50 runs will be scored during an 8-over session. Punters place bets on the team scoring either below 48 or above 50.
सेम सेटिंग है. 8 ओवर में 48-50 मिलेगा वो मंदा जाएगा.
Munawar would tell the bookmakers to bet heavily on the score being under 48 because he knew the session had been fixed.
It's very easy for a player to underperform and not score as many overs or to get out and make it look very natural.
Atul Wasan played 13 times for India and has criticised players for accepting bribes.
Some players have got the feeling that if I just fix a spot or I don't score in an over, I'm not doing something wrong because I'm not fixing a match.
One player has been investigated by the ICC for session fixing. Said, well, it doesn't affect the result of the match, so what's the problem?
कम से कम 10 आदमी बैठते थे. उसमें से 6-7 आदमी मोबाइल कलेक्ट करते थे और जो 2-3 आदमी थे वो वॉइस कॉल रिकॉर्डिंग का ध्यान रखते थे, लैपटॉप का ध्यान रखते थे और टीवी का ध्यान रखते थे. मुनावर डीके बोलता है कि भाई मुनावर भाई क्या हुआ आज का मैसेज, वो तुरंत मुनावर उसको मैसेज देता है.
और लास्ट ओवर में माल उठा लेना मंदा जाएगा. ठीक है.
मुनावर ने मैच फिक्स किया है तभी उसको पता रहता है कि भाई ये मंदा आएगा सेशन कि तेजी में आएगा.
The first fix contained in the Munawar Files is at a ground that calls itself the home of cricket. The match is between 2 of the world's leading international teams. Munawar calls Dinesh Kambat at the Sudama resort in India and says the fix is for a 10-over session. Due to the gravity of the accusations and the prospect of criminal investigations, we are not, at present, naming the fixed sessions in any of the 15 matches, because that would identify the batsman suspected of fixing.
हेलो हाँ डीके हाँ जनाब इस बार एक ही सेशन मिल सकता
The betting will open with a prediction of how many runs the batsman will score during a 10-over session. Munawar says the number of runs scored will be manda, below the market prediction. And in a second element of the fix, the last over of the session will be a maiden. No runs will be scored.
खुलेगा वो अंदर जाएगा और ओवर चली जाएगी ठीक ठीक है
We've shown the Munawar Files to sports corruption investigators. Chris Eaton has worked for Interpol.
He talks about the game, the specific session, the specific time, the specific outcome. He even ends up talking about the final over. Will it be a maiden?
At Lord's, both elements of the fix went down exactly as Munawar had predicted.
We have the alleged max fixer coming up with a pretty low market rate for this 10-over bracket. And sure enough, it comes in 1 run below that.
Sheil Berry has been to more test matches than any other cricket writer.
He also said that the 10th over of this bracket would be a maiden. And lo and behold, it was a maiden.
मुनावर वहाँ पे मैच फिक्सिंग करता है जो भी है इस तरह करता है वो मुनावर जाने लेकिन वहाँ मैच फिक्स करता है उसको हर एक बात की पता रहता है कि कौन से बॉल में कितने रन आएगा वो मैसेज पास करता था दिनेश का पास और दिनेश का पास उनको पास
It's very difficult to forecast that a maiden over is going to be bowled because a batsman can easily get an edge or something like that. So I've just got no way of accounting for it.
Ed Hawkins has advised the International Cricket Council. We showed him the full Munawar files, including the names of those batting during a fix, names that, for now, we are withholding.
Were any names surprising to me? One definitely wasn't, because I know that the ICC have investigated before and had him in an interview room for several hours. A couple of names I'm not entirely surprised about either, but that's probably because there's some crossover with some of the information I'm seeing here that I've been privy to in the past, so it's not hugely surprising.
Betting is illegal in India, yet there are more than 100,000 bookmakers across the country. And the betting market has been valued at more than $60 billion US.
Even schoolboys in India are seen with their bookies number on their mobile phones. It's become a part of the system. It's become a malaise where people feel okay about it.
This illegal bookmaking operation is only known about by word of mouth.
If you want to place a bet in India, you've got to have a friend who will introduce you, and then you have an account set up.
The bookies give odds on a team scoring under or over a certain number of runs during a session of overs.
75-78.
Bets are phoned in rather than placed over the internet.
No money passes hands initially when the bet is laid. A messenger brings you your money or collects your money. It's all based on trust and knowing where you live if you don't cough up.
Some bookmakers work with match-fixing syndicates to create a market for session betting.
They have created these session betting because to fix a total match in a team sport is virtually impossible. You got to have a chunk of players with you, and you cannot control that. But in a fixing, it's only 1 or 2 players who are at the crease at that point. It's very easy.
Global television coverage has helped match fixers spread their influence all over the world. Munawar calls Kalgi's bookmakers at the Sudama resort in India to tell them a fix has been arranged for a test match in South Africa. Dinesh Kambat, or DK, the man running Kalgi's cricket betting operation, takes the call.
हाँ DK, जनाब, आज आएगा, टॉस के बाद फोन करता हूँ.
Following his usual pattern, Munawar calls again after the captains have tossed a coin to see who bats first. If the fixing team did not bat first, the fix would happen when it was their turn to bat.
हाँ DK, जी जनाब, आज ऑस्ट्रेलिया में रन बनेगा, वो मंदा जाएगा, और लास्ट 2 ओवर में माल उठा लेना, मंदा जाएगा. ठीक है, ओके.
Well, when Munawar is predicting how many runs are going to be scored in a particular over, it suggests that he is so well embedded with players that he can dictate scoring rates.
Munawar says the batsman will score low, Amanda, below the market prediction by the end of the fixed session. He gets it right.
There are some names here which will just blow people out of the water. But of some of the others named, I've only heard whispers about them and nothing really particularly concrete. So it's a little bit eyebrow-raising for me to see their names listed here.
I have seen every sport say that there may be match fixing at the lower levels of their sport, but it doesn't touch the elite athlete. This is clearly, provably wrong. We have evidence of key players, such as Hansi Cronje, for instance, and others in cricket.
In 2000, Hansi Cronje received a life ban for taking more than $100,000 from match fixers in India.
When Hansi Cronje episode happened, those were the early days of bookies coming in and trying to influence players.
Cronje was the captain of the South African team.
I was not honest, and I apologize unreservedly.
There's lots of captains being involved in match fixing internationally. Hansi Cronje being the most famous of all. And more recently, Mohammad Ashraful, the former Bangladesh captain, was banned.
আমি এই সব সত্য কথা বলেছি যে আসলে এটা এইভাবে অন্যায় করাটা ঠিক হয় নাই সব জাতির সাথে এবং আমার সাথে আমিও গিলটি ফিল করি
Wasim Akram, one of Pakistan's greatest players, was another captain tainted by match-fixing allegations, as was India's former captain, Mohammad Azharuddin. In 2010, 3 Pakistan internationals accepted $200,000 to underperform in a test match in England. 4 years later, Lou Vincent, the New Zealand batsman, admitted fixing matches.
I've abused my position as a professional sportsman by choosing to accept money in fixing.
Any player who's out there, no matter how strong he is, no matter how righteous he is always open at a weak point to be approached. And people will keep on trying through your managers, through your friends, because they feel that they can influence the players at times.
Do you have players in every national team?
Yes.
In part 2, Munawar calls an unnamed English cricketer.
Last payment is ready for going the account. It will be created in a week. No.
And further evidence of Munawar's role in fixing international cricket.
You've got a large chunk of the history of the game which is to be questioned.
The Munawar Files shed light on the role of organised crime in cricket match fixing. Munawar described the people he worked for as the company.
Our company is connected in almost all board. There is some rules of our company, some secrets of our company. No one who involved in our company, they have no any rights to say our secrets, how we are doing our business.
Pradeep Sharma is an Indian detective tasked with fighting organized crime. Days after the broadcast of our first investigation, Sharma confirmed the identity of Munawar's company. He'd arrested 6 people in a city near Mumbai. They've been charged with organized crime offenses, including illegal betting. Among them was a high-profile match fixer.
Sonu Jalan is a bookie, operates from Mumbai all over the world. He's the biggest bookie in Mumbai. Definitely is a very big fish.
The raid and interrogations yielded a trove of information.
We find mobiles, SIM cards, laptops, cash. He gave certain numbers also from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Dubai, Australia, London.
Jalan's arrest also exposed the links between illegal betting and Bollywood stars. Actor Arbaz Khan was arrested after he admitted betting on the Indian Premier League, the world's most popular cricket tournament. The interrogation of Jalan also revealed a link to our investigation.
Sonu Jalan told us he also knew one person by name Munawar. He had met him in Dubai.
And the name of Munawar's company was confirmed by Jalan.
Sonu Jalan said he knows Munawar, and he also informed us that he is connected to D company.
It's okay for you?
Yeah. He looks after the betting syndicate of D company.
D company is named after Dawood Ibrahim, one of the world's most wanted men.
The Sonu Jalan and many more, they are operating on behalf of Dawood Ibrahim.
D Company are the match fixers supreme, but they're also the most powerful and organised crime network probably the world has ever seen, and they're untouchable.
The Indian authorities claim that D Company is not just a criminal syndicate, but also a militant organisation that serves India's regional rival, Pakistan.
Dawood Ibrahim is supposed to be in Pakistan. The Pakistan authorities know exactly where he is. If the Indian government really went after D Company, it is a powder keg situation for the region.
D Company has expanded from its roots in India.
Although India is the absolute hub, Dubai in recent years has got really, really big. Dawood Ibrahim is said to be free to roam around Dubai and UAE. So he is protected to go about his business. There's no doubt about that.
It was in Dubai in 2016 that we first met Munawar. He told us the scale of the match fixing he was involved in.
And there is lots of setting, but not in all match. Suppose there is 10 match going to play, so we will sit in at least 6 match.
Munawar revealed few personal details, but did say that he travelled extensively. He showed us a selfie taken at a cricket ground.
It's me. Wow. Yeah, Bangladesh. I think Chittagong.
This is you?
Yeah.
Despite living in India, his WhatsApp picture shows an allegiance to Pakistan. He also appeared to spend much of his time in Dubai.
A lot of the syndicate heads and a lot of the match fixers are based in Dubai, and that's where the orders are coming from now.
Cricket's popularity is growing in the UAE, and so are the opportunities for the match fixers based there. The Munawar Files include evidence of several fixers in the Emirates. They were carried out during a series of test matches between England and Pakistan. As usual, Munawar calls the bookmaker beforehand. It's a fix for a session of 10 overs.
चलो आ जनाब खुलेगा वो मन जाएगा.
The score will be below the market prediction for the fixed 10-over session. And he adds a second part of the fix.
और लास्ट ओवर में माल उठा लेना खाली जाएगा. ठीक है.
The last over of the 10 will be a maiden with no runs scored. Munawar's predictions are accurate.
This works out exactly as he suggests. This is clearly to me authentic evidence that you cannot reject.
The next test match is in Abu Dhabi. Munawar calls to give the details.
आज सेशन बनेगा खुलेगा वो मंदा रहेगा. लास्ट ओवर में माल था लेना मंदा जाए. ठीक है. ठीक है.
It's a fix for a 10-over session. They will score below the market prediction, and no more than 2 runs will be scored in the last over of the session. Such changes in the pace of the game are subtle and, for spectators, unnoticeable during a match lasting 5 days.
There are 90 overs in a day. So a player manipulating 1 or 2 overs here or there, and also protecting his wicket and not actually scoring runs, they probably wouldn't even think that is match fixing.
Munawar calls the bookmaker again for a second fix during the same test match.
ये ना भाई बैटिंग से पहले फोन करता हूँ. ठीक है. ठीक है.
Munawar calls back just before the start of the innings.
हाँ जनाब. हेलो वाला ही सेटिंग है. सन मंदा जाएगा. आधी ओवर में माल उठा लेना मंदी जाएगी. ठीक है. ठीक है.
It's a repeat of the previous fix. A 10-over session, low score, last over, Amanda.
The fixes are routine, they're formulaic, they're often involving the same players.
The third test of the series is back in Dubai. Munawar rings in yet another fix.
आज बनेगा खुलेगा वो मंदा जाएगा. और आखिरी ओवर में माल उठा लेना खाली जाएगी. ठीक है. ओके.
The pattern is familiar. A fixed session of 10 overs, the score below the market prediction, and the last of the 10 overs will be a maiden. Once again, Munawar's information is correct.
You've got 2 fixes in the same game and a fix in each of the 3 test matches, which is rather stunning because test matches are not supposed to be vulnerable to match fixes. That's what the ICC have always told us. Test cricket is pure, it's pedestaled, it's not tainted by corruption.
The files include photographs as well as audio recordings. On the night of the fix in the 3rd test in Dubai, a member of the Pakistan squad was in the lobby of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. He met a man described by our source, who was in the hotel at the time, as a D Company associate of Munawar. Umar Akmal is seen at a table talking to the man. Akmal and the man then get up and walk to another table where a second associate of Munawar is waiting. He shakes the second man's hand and is given a bag. Akmal then peers into the bag to inspect its contents. The photographs do not show whether he left with the bag. Akmal did not respond to our request for comment.
The pictures of Umar Akmal meeting Munawar's associates, they look suspicious. It rings alarm bells for people who know about match fixing.
In 2018, Akmal admitted that he'd been offered $200,000 to carry out spot fixes, an offer he said he refused. The ICC is investigating. In 2012, Sri Lanka hosted the 2020 World Cup, where each team bowls 20 overs per match. The world's top teams were staying at hotels in the capital, Colombo. So were Munawar and his associates. Munawar is seen alongside some of the world's most celebrated cricket stars. There is no suggestion that any of the players in these photographs are involved in corrupt activities.
You can see he hovers in the background until such time as he engages in a conversation. This is a tactic that's very well known.
We've got pictures of Munawar and his associates with top-level players. Virat Kohli, probably the greatest player in the modern game.
It is disturbing that the most famous player in cricket today, Virat Kohli, should have been so easily accessed by Aneel Munawar.
We've got Suresh Raina, the ex-India captain. We've got Darren Sammy, the ex-West Indies captain. We've got Chris Gayle, the ex-West Indies captain.
Munawar would be targeting senior players because they hold the greatest sway in the dressing room over what their team's going to do in a match, particularly batting. Players who potentially can significantly alter run rates during matches.
These are very high-profile people. And then top it off, we have Andy Bichel, the Australian coach and a selector.
Andy Bichel said he was completely unaware of Munawar's identity and that no approach was made. He added that he detested match fixing and the way it's infiltrated cricket.
There's no evidence that any of these players or captains are in any way compromised by Munawar. But that was Munawar's intention, because if you can control the field of play, you control the fix.
The ICC's anti-corruption unit deploys undercover officials to watch out for match fixers at major tournaments.
Munawar is behaving suspiciously, and that is something which as an ICC spotter should be able to notice and challenge him on that. Why is that allowed to happen? Why are the ICC allowing somebody to behave so suspiciously around players?
Our investigation suggests that some players at the 2020 World Cup were involved in corruption. The recordings reveal that Munawar gave Dinesh Kargie's bookie operation details of at least 3 fixes during the tournament. One was a match in the group stages.
आज सेशन आएगा ओवर में खुलेगा वो अंदर जाएगा और लास्ट ओवर में माल खा लेना मंदी जाएगी.
And Munawar is right yet again.
We hear him say, this is the score, this is the session, this is the betting market. He predicts absolutely the outcome, accurately the outcome.
The Munawar Files show that match fixing is happening in all formats of cricket, including one-day internationals, or ODIs, in which each side bowls 50 overs.
ODIs are popular for fixers because there's huge TV audience, there's huge amount of punters. It's very similar to 2020. Lots of runs expected to be scored. Run rates have gone through the roof in recent years again. and all the punters are expecting those runs.
In 2011, the ODI World Cup was held in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and India. The files contain the recording of a phone call made by Munawar to an unnamed player just before the World Cup starts.
Hello? Munawar here. Congratulations for the success. Last payment is ready for going in the account. It will be created in a week. No.
A forensic speech scientist has examined the recording, which appears to show that Munawar is sending money to an England player. The analysis concluded that the recording had not been tampered with.
Now you just listen. We are ready for the World Cup. All the setting is with you in a few days. We can arrange a match shortly. Who will be in touch with you? I can explain briefly. Oh, I think there's some network problem. I said I can explain a plan briefly. What is the strategy? We can arrange alternate first and third session. Last over is going to be blink. Batsman can't play it. You can do the same thing every day. No, I understand what you think about. But I want to say a run is under the market. You can arrange a set before every match. You can get a whole set in morning. Okay? Bye.
Al Jazeera approached the player believed to be speaking with Munawar. He denied that the conversation took place and suggested the recording was a fabrication. The recordings include evidence of fixes in 5 matches during the 2011 ODI World Cup. One involved England and South Africa.
हाँ नाम सेशन बनेगा खुलेगा वो मंदा जाएगा आखिरी ओवर में माल उठा लेना वो भी मंदा जाएगा ठीक है हाँ ठीक है
Munawar's predictions were accurate.
Even the forecasts that the 10th over of one of these brackets is going to be Manda, so it is. There's only one run off it. It's a bit disturbing that the prophecy has been fulfilled exactly as this person has said.
Okay, all right.
The details of the fixes are always arranged at the last moment.
100% it's fixed, but pricing and what session or match I will tell you by tomorrow evening.
Yes. Okay, that would be helpful.
If no fix has been arranged, Munawar calls Calgi's bookmakers in the morning to let them know.
हाँ दीजिए ना आज कोई सेटिंग नहीं है कल फोन कर रहा हूँ ठीक है हाँ ठीक है
But not all of Munawar's fixing work turns out as planned. We were due to meet Munawar in Australia in early 2017. But when he called us, he sounded angry.
There is no any setting. This bloody Australian, they are asking us for so much big money. Our company which decided to cancel everything.
Munawar had told us his company was planning fixes during the lucrative domestic tournament known as the Big Bash.
So the fix is not on?
No, because these Australians are asking more and more so big amount.
See.
So our company decided to cancel all the deal. There was setting for a session for 6 hours. But we are not doing.
Later that evening, Munawar called again.
All company members are so very much sad because of, at the end moment the setting is a failure. We totally wind up now and we are going back to India tomorrow morning.
But Munawar's business in Australia had been far from unsuccessful. The Pakistan team was touring when the Big Bash was taking place.
We successfully done 5 matches.
Were they internationals, Australia, Pakistan, or Big Bash?
Listen to me. This type of discussion we are not able to discuss on phone.
Of course.
When we meet face to face, I explain you everything.
What happened in Australia?
They ask for more money, almost more than double. So you are changing after deal. It's not good for us.
Well, you said you had 5 successful fixes in Australia. Were they Big Bash or?
Actually, there is 4 Big Bash and 1 test.
Munawar had previously told us that spot fixes could sometimes go wrong.
In some match, there are 10% chances we change some decision in running match. And when we will change something, I will inform you. Please change your bet.
The Munawar files also show that another fix was planned during England's series against Pakistan in the UAE.
हेलो हाँ साहब आज ही आएगा 10 ओवर में खुलेगा वो बना जाएगा लास्ट ओवर में मार खा लेना मंदी जाएगी.
In the event, the session fix did not happen because the batsman scored 1 run too many.
It can happen, I suppose. Human error. Or the batsman gets a thick outside edge when he's trying to defend. But even then, it was just 1 run out. It's quite extraordinary.
The Munawar files describe fixes in 15 international matches, 6 test matches, 6 one-day internationals, and 3 T20 World Cup games.
It suggests endemic, widespread corruption in the game across all formats of the game.
Munawar correctly predicted 25 out of 26 outcomes in 15 matches.
You've got a large chunk of the history of the game which is to be questioned.
We took the Munawar files to a UK-based company specializing in sports betting analysis. After examining the statistics, it concluded that the chances of the scores predicted by Munawar happening without fixing the matches would be 9.2 million to 1.
What is going on? How on earth do you account for these eventualities all panning out exactly as forecast?
9.2 million to 1. That is mind-blowing.
The analysis took into consideration the weather, form, condition of the wicket, and previous head-to-head encounters at the same venue.
For it to be so spot on defies belief, really.
We also took the Munawar files to another sports betting consultancy. Its calculation was based solely on statistical probabilities. It concluded that the odds of Munawar's forecast coming good were 33 million to 1.
For these outcomes to have been fulfilled exactly as forecast is equivalent to winning the lottery. It's almost miraculous.
Is it possible that the predictions could come true without the complicity of the players? It's almost impossible to believe. Unless Munawar has a crystal ball or he's some sort of time traveller.
Have you had any problems with the authorities or...
No. If you have money, you will do anything.
The first evidence of Munawar's role in match fixing came to light in 2010. The Sun newspaper in London printed a front-page exclusive. It alleged that Pakistan players had been involved in a spot fix during a one-day international against England in London. The source of the story worked at Dinesh Kalgi's bookmaking operation in Ahmedabad. He said he had recordings of fixers being called in. The Sun reporter hired a translator in India to help with the story.
The bookmaker used to record all the calls. The reporter had a source which had access to the data from the bookmaker.
Fearing repercussions, the translator asked to conceal his identity.
The plan was that our source will bring the recording before the match, which I'm going to translate, send it to my reporter in England.
A week later, the source brought a recorded phone call with evidence of a fixed plan for an international match.
The fix was for the 10-over session. It was Pakistan which was batting first.
The translator also found out how the bookies learnt about the fixes.
The bookmaker used to get call every morning before the match from Dubai. The person he got the call from was Munawar.
Hello.
Yes, DK.
Yes, sir. There is same setting like before. You place your bets in last 2 overs. It is going manda. Market is opening 45-47 in 10 overs. It is going manda.
Okay.
The translator spoke to the Sun reporter as the match was about to start.
The reporter was obviously very excited. He was nervous because they had informed the International Cricket Council, and there were 2 officers from the council in the Sun's office.
A researcher who worked on the story was also at the Sun's office in London on that day. He too wishes to conceal his face.
A person who was identified to me as Alan Peacock. He arrived with a lawyer appointed by the International Cricket Council.
Alan Peacock was a senior investigator for the International Cricket Council's anti-corruption unit.
Peacock, his lawyer, Sun reporter and his lawyer, they were ushered into a glass-fronted boardroom. The translation of the fix had arrived, the voice file had arrived, and all this had been made clear to Peacock. Then they started looking at a screen.
As they watched the match, Pakistan scored well under 45 runs by the end of the 10-over session identified by Munawar. There were no runs in the 10th over. Munawar had got both parts of the fix right.
We knew what was going to happen, and exactly that happened. I had no doubt that this match was fixed.
The International Cricket Council launched an investigation.
A reporter told me that the ICC took the information very seriously.
But Munawar's role as a match fixer and Kalgi's betting operation were apparently not uncovered by the ICC. Less than a month later, the ICC announced it had found no compelling evidence of wrongdoing at the Oval. Yet Al Jazeera's investigation has found that the ICC knew of Munawar's match-fixing activities in 2010, when Peacock was at the Sun's office.
The source confirmed that the person ringing in the fixes to Dinesh Kalgi was Munawar. There was no doubt whatsoever in the mind of Peacock or the ICC that Munawar was a match fixer.
The researcher met the ICC investigator again in July 2013.
I actually met Alan Peacock in central London, and we discussed Munawar and his match-fixing activities. Peacock was very clear about who Munawar was, and also his activities, which were of absolute pertinent interest to him.
So why did the ICC launch a global appeal to identify Munawar after Al Jazeera informed it about this documentary?
There should have been some action by the ICC in those intervening years. This has left the sport vulnerable to a man they're aware of. That can only be construed as being negligent.
The ICC's anti-corruption unit, based in Dubai, has limited investigative powers. Alan Peacock did not respond to our request for comment, but there is no suggestion that he was personally negligent.
The cricket world is in denial about match fixing. Whenever a match fixing story breaks, the writers, the administrators, and ex-players are very quick to try and stamp it out and say rubbish. And I think that's a huge problem, because if you're not listening to the evidence, then you've got no chance of actually cutting out a serious credibility threat to the game.
Due to the seriousness of the allegations Al Jazeera has uncovered, it is planning to provide Interpol with a copy of the Munawar Files.
This is a matter of systemic criminality, and it deserves something far more serious than to be denied with outrage by players saying this cannot happen in our wonderful sport. An investigation involving global organised crime and global sport betting needs to have a coordinated law enforcement response.
Munawar, I'm afraid there is no money.
Maybe the first documentary has put some sort of break on Munawar's activities.
What do you say to the millions of people who watch cricket innocently, believing...
But that doesn't mean he hasn't been replaced. It doesn't mean there's another Munawar out there right now, or 2 or 3 other Munawars out there right now.
What, corrupting the game?